Incoming transmission.
The Klingonese word of the day is Coke.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
So, this is a huge victory for the good guys.
Scotty, beam me up.
Resistance is futile. Live long and prosper.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings and welcome to the Computer Resume podcast, a show covering the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order and occasionally interviewing franchise alum for fans new and old. I'm your host, writer-comedian, Mr. Todd A. Davis. Since 2019, she's composed the music for Short Treks and Prodigy, not to mention the video game Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, Dream Productions from Pixar, and the films An American Pickle and Marvel's Thor, Love and Thunder. You can see, or hear rather, her continued work with the next season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds premiering on Paramount Plus on July 17th. She is the first female composer in the Star Trek franchise. It's Nami Melumad! Yay! Hey!
That was fun.
Oh, thank you.
I should borrow this for my voicemail.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Please. I am happy to do that. If you want the MP3, I will send that to you.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, I kind of just want to dive right in. Okay. First of all, you are a super busy lady doing all kinds of really fun, cool stuff. But one of the things that you've done, a lot of my research is actually comprised of you going on other podcasts and being very in touch with the fandom. You've said in numerous places, you're a big Trekkie. So how's it going from like one side of the fandom to being inside and still being a Trekkie? What's that like for you?
That's such a good question. And thank you for having me. It's always exciting to talk about Trek and to nerd out about it and to nerd out about the filmmaking part of it, but also, the outcome. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I view it always from the perspective of the viewer, like as a Trekkie really, and it's interesting because a lot of times like our showrunner Henry will be very excited to in our first spotting sessions every episode, because I usually don't see the episode before we meet. And so when we meet and it's the first time I see the episode, he sees my reaction to it, and he kind of comes to conclusions from that. Like, does this work? Is this funny? Is this like emotional? And I'm very transparent in how I react. So I think he's actually using that as a bit of perspective and guide of how it's gonna be accepted by the Trekkies.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, a lot of times I'll have like, I'll ask questions, or I'll be like, how does this fit? Like, what is the reasoning for this and that? And they'll the writers will be like, oh yeah, it's because of this, it's like the stuff that Trekkies would ask online later. And I'm like, how are we explaining that exactly?
Yeah.
And there's an interesting episode with I guess I can say that, but like okay, I guess I can say that. Like, there's an episode with obviously we see Pike, and then there's like a lot of wind in the scene.
Sure.
And his hair is not moving exactly with the
no, of course it's not
and
moving.
I was like, well, is that like a problem in continuity? Like, because like, was there no fan when they shot the scene? Like, are they going to do this in VFX? So I asked if they're going to do this in VFX, and then the answer was like, well, it's like, it's like futuristic hair products. It works out.
Oh my God. This is a Star Trek exclusive. You heard it here first, folks. It's futuristic hair products. That's what he's got going on.
Yeah, it's very funny. But I was like, anyway, stuff like that. It's It's hilarious. But yeah, it's really fun to be part of the actual crew. The problem is whenever I want to talk about like what we do, with friends or fellow Trekkies, I really can't. Like I have to be very careful with what I say, and also, there's NDAs and stuff. So
Oh, of course. Yeah,
uh
absolutely.
yeah, so sometimes it's very frustrating to wait for several months or sometimes half a year until I can talk about like what I just did and like the experience I experienced, working on a certain episode.
Right. Now, I I looked into a couple of things, but you mentioned spotting sessions. I kind of
Mhm.
want to pull the curtain back a little bit to kind of let people know what you mean. What is a spotting session, and the
Okay.
episodes that you're getting, like, is it everything except the music? Like, so there's not VFX from what you just told me,
Yeah.
but it's edited together. Is it just kind of like edited dailies, or
Yeah.
okay?
Let me explain. So, in the post-production process, as you're saying, there's the dailies, and then the editor is creating an editorial cut. So this is the first cut. Then there's a director cut where the editor and the director are spending a week together. And this is considered a director cut. Then there is a producer cut number one and producer cut number two, and then a final lock, picture lock.
Wow.
And so when we do the spotting session, it's to the picture lock. Now the picture lock is not it has like very basic effects, let's say, or like markers that say, oh, this is going to be VFX, or this is going to be ADR, additional recorded dialogue. So basically, it's not complete. The picture is not completed yet. Obviously, there's no color correction. There's no sound effects. There's only temp stuff. So there's temp sound effects, temp music, things that the editors have put into the cut to help the producers approve it, basically. And to help the storytelling, to help understand what is the final, where are we aiming. And I also find it very helpful in terms of like, a reference point, because when we sit in that meeting, it's usually music. So it's me and Matt, our music editor, and also the sound people. So sound effects editor, additional recorders, the mixer. Actually, the mixer is usually not on it, but like the editors who are doing the sound, and then obviously our showrunner, our producers, and usually the picture editor as well. Sometimes the writer of the episode shows up, not all the time, but like occasionally they will. Henry's very collaborative in that way. Like he'll want people to jump in and have like their perspective if they're available. And then in that meeting, we go through the episode and we discuss what music is doing in every scene, like what important moments we want to emphasize, or how are we building to a certain moment, or what should be funny, or all sorts of like dynamics inside the scene, where the music stops, where does it start, what kind of feel do we want, like is this like, should this be an intimate thing, is this like an action, and that's where I'm saying, like, because TV schedule is quite fast, it is helpful to have a reference point. And sometimes, they'll use a big Hans Zimmer cue, and I'm like, guys, really? But occasionally, I mean, I generally enjoy the temp choices. They give some inspiration. And then, the same conversation is happening with sound simultaneously. So if I know, for example, that there's going to be a huge explosion, sometimes, it helps to know what the sound people are preparing, or like what is the aim with that? Because I'm like, okay, I should be out by the boom, or
Right.
sort of, it just helps to plan a little bit, like, okay, they're going to do something very ambient here, so the score would need maybe to be either above it or below it, or maybe melodic, but not to do the same frequencies, or maybe we do want a certain interesting blend between the music and the sound. So I think it's very helpful that we do this with the sound. The downside of that is that it takes way longer, like the meeting.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I mean, because from what I understand, shooting takes at minimum a week, like principal photography. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you're shooting 8, 10, 12-hour days or more, that's a lot of footage because the final thing is 45 minutes,
Yeah.
give or take. That's a,
Yeah, even more than that usually.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
around
So,
50. Yeah.
whoa, yeah. Just trying to figure out. And again, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, if it's done correctly, it blends together and you don't even notice like all these, all these intricate little things. But if it's done incorrectly, like it sticks out like a sore thumb of just kind of like, I can't hear what they're saying, or like, is there music here? Like, yeah, yeah. So, oh man, wow, what a
Yeah.
fascinating look. Thank you for kind of
Explain
giving me the
yourself.
crash course in this.
Yeah.
This is fascinating, fascinating stuff. So talking about your music and your musical style, part of my research was an interview that you gave to Variety, I believe, wherein your work was described as evoking the vibe of Michael Giacchino and John Williams. And I think I actually heard some little Trek isms in your piece, New Zealand's Guide to Tessering.
Oh wow.
How'd you do that? Like, I mean,
Okay, I have to
so it should be
re-listen.
glaringly obvious I'm not a musician and know nothing about music. So,
I mean, it makes sense though. I mean, honestly, I wrote that piece long before I started working with Michael or on track. Um, but I guess it would make a lot of sense that like you would hear that influence in my score to that particular, I mean, piece. Because I've grew up on the music of both Michael and John Williams. And so, obviously a lot of, it's like you internalize certain influences.
yeah,
It's kind of like when you go to, let's say you go to the Academy of Music and you do all these like practices, right? You do counterpoint, very basic counterpoint, like how to write a cantus firmus, or like how to do two voices.
right.
Or you learn all these like harmony and voice leading. You learn the information, like you practice it, you use submit the assignments, and then you forget it. But it's not, do you really forget it? Because it's in the back of your head. Like that's the idea. Like you've internalized it, and that's how you think about stuff. And one day it's going to come out in a certain interesting way. It's going to come out in your music, because the whole point of learning counterpoint is that it's going to be useful for your writing. So I feel in a similar way, because I'm so familiar with both of these gentlemen's work and vocabulary, and that's been for, I don't know, probably 20 years at this point.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It influences you. And then the New Zealand piece was an orchestral piece, so obviously it shines better when you do an orchestral piece like that, those styles. So I think that would be the explanation, because that piece was actually based on like, because of the book, the I forgot the name of the book. There was a movie about it, A Wrinkle in Time.
Yes, yes.
So that was the inspiration for it. And then my trip to New Zealand, which is like, I mean, that was very influenced by Lord of the Rings, but that's another story.
Hey, we accept all fandoms here. Like,
Oh no, I was like I'm still a hardcore like Lord of the Rings and Tolkien fan, but at that time it was the three of us, me and a couple friends. One of them was a fellow Lord of the Rings fan, and we actually went with rings on our necks the entire trip.
you
And
nerd.
the other friend was like, I don't know though. But yeah, I was very nerdy. I had like I got the a book that is a sort of like a locations guide to where they filmed scenes.
Cool.
Where is that great river? Where is where is Mount Doom? All that stuff.
Right.
And we actually drove drove around for 3 months.
Very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, my wife and I took our first trip to the UK like
nice. How?
2 years ago, and it was just, as we were driving, we did a little tour of the Scottish Highlands, and
Mm.
the our bus driver was like, "Do we have any James Bond fans?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "If you look out to the left, that's the road to Skyfall." I was like,
Oh, that's so
"Yeah, it
cool.
was really awesome. It was so much fun." And then like
Wow.
going around Edinburgh, there's the little shop that Wanda and Vision are looking at the TV when they're in
Oh,
Edinburgh. Oh, it was like,
that's, oh
this is
my
it.
god.
It's right
That's
here. They
really
stood
cool.
right here.
Yeah. It's fun because you get to feel like you're in the movie, you're in the show. It's
Yeah.
exciting in a different in a different way. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
absolutely.
there's something very personal in that.
Yeah, especially when it's I don't know, fiction is such a fascinating like doorway to like your heart and soul even you connect in a way, through storytelling, and music plays such a big part of that.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's oh wow, that's wild. Oh, so along those lines, in connecting through fiction and tying music together, recently my wife declared that her Dungeons and Dragons character's fight song is Chinchilla's Little Girl Gone. I don't know if you've heard that song.
I have not, but I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Run, little girl, bang. Ha. Say that again, I didn't quite hear ya. Mess with the wrong bitch in the wrong era. I've been at work and I got my badge of honor. Honey, I've changed so much since I last saw ya. Hands on my head, help every day. You ding ding, hold my earrings for my debut. Cause I pack a punch back into a quarter. Come at me, don't tell me I didn't warn ya.
But you've talked about doing individual character themes for Strange New Worlds and, Spock and T'Pring's love theme. How do you take an element of a performance, a character, or an emotion and translate that into music?
Oh, that's a good question. It actually takes a lot of time.
I would
And a lot
imagine.
of trial and error. I would, yeah, it's until I've landed on the right thing, it takes a minute. And that's the nice thing about a TV show because once you figured out that theme, it will serve you later on as well, and you can do variations on it, and you can manipulate it in certain ways with audio or with playing techniques or with like genres or styles or different instruments. Like there's so many ways to change or to do variations on a theme or a motif. But the initial thing does take time because you wanna understand the character's energy or
Mm,
like their connection between them. Like, is it a genuine connection? Is it like a lustful relationship? Is this like a true friendship? Is this love? What is it? Is it tension? Like if you look at Dal and Gwyn, for example, in Prodigy, there's a lot of tension in those first few episodes. And it's like, but it was friendly tension. Like it was obviously really like each other, even though, it was teasing. There's a lot of, so sometimes it takes a minute to find the right balance there, and I feel like the T'Pring and Spock theme was a lot of trial and error until I landed on the right thing. Yeah, and sometimes you just sometimes it's really about like finding the right rhythm first. I would say finding the right like n- not necessarily tempo, but like rhythm. Like, is it? I don't know if I'm explaining this very well. I'm sorry,
no, no,
but like I'll look at things like in the way that the picture is edited. Some like a lot of that would that's what I mean by rhythm. Like, how is it edited and like where the music falls, like where the music needs to make how will the music make it breathe better? Or like how does
mhm.
it flow better? And sometimes it will be a matter of like tempo, like okay, let's do it 5 more BPM or like 5 less BPM or 15 or whatever. And
Wow.
sometimes it'll be like the chord progression, like how intense are we switching the chords, how quickly. Like sometimes it's going to be led by a melody. There are a lot of ways to go about it, but I think for me it's first of all the rhythm of the picture, and that stems from the performance, obviously. So yeah, in a way it's all very connected, but I don't start from a blank page, which is something that I am very grateful for,
Mm,
especially in Trekland. There's so much emotion that the writers have written and the actors have portrayed and the directors put in the picture and the editors are showing through their edit. And that's where I come in. It's already kind of there, and my job is to emphasize it and enhance it. So it's not a blank page. I'm very happy about that because writing to a blank page is scary.
Yeah, no, there's been times where I've sat down to craft either a script or a story or even something short, and it's just that little blinking cursor just mocks me of like, all right, what do you got, funny boy? Like,
Yeah, and it's very interesting. This is really intimidating sometimes, and
yeah,
I feel like one of the reasons that it's helpful that composers have templates. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
no,
most composers who work on in Hollywood or just in general, for film and television and games, they have a template. So their go-to instruments are already on whatever DAW they use. So I use Cubase, people use Logic or Digital Performer, Pro Tools, Ableton. But you would have in my case, it's like my orchestra is sort of ready to go. But also auxiliary instruments like, piano, percussion, synthesizers that certain people like, choirs, all sorts of patches like ethnic instruments, whatever it is. But people like to have a template, and I feel like part of it is because then you don't start on a completely blank page. You already have like some stuff to play around with, so it's less intimidating.
I you know I you talked about having. I imagine for someone who's not a musician like myself, it's hard to kind of explain how the sauce is made.
Yeah.
Um, I actually met somebody at Trek Long Island last year who was a professional concert musician,
Mhm.
but who was not familiar with Star Trek. They were there at the convention with a friend who was a big Star Trek fan. And we got into a discussion. I said, "What do you do for a living?" She told me, she was a concert musician. She was like, "Oh," I was like, "The music in Star Trek is amazing." She's like, "Really? What's great about it?" I was like, the theme for Strange New Worlds sounds like a galloping horse." Like, that's
That's what
that's
you told her.
that's all I knew to say. I was like, I got nothing else. It's incredible, but I don't know how to describe it.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Wow,
Oh,
I think it's just an emotional ride with the music.
yeah.
It's like a roller coaster a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, and you talk about, some of these things that the actors are putting on screen, be it from a writing perspective or, some direction that they're getting, or if it's just a choice by the actor. Anson Mount, I've already mentioned my love for Anson Mount on the show in previous episodes and whatnot, but just he gives such great facial expressions with just little super subtle, but
Yeah.
just says volumes. I always think of
Oh
that.
yeah.
I always think of
I
that.
love him. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
he's
romantic
so
comedy episode.
versatile.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that romantic comedy episode where he is bringing the tray of food and then just does a quick turn, like, and you see the look on his face of just, oh nope.
Wait,
Just,
which one is that?
I think it's the one where Spock turns human
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and
Yeah,
they have to have that
205.
little
Okay, yeah,
ceremony with the
205.
parents.
Oh yeah, that episode is amazing. And like his performance. Yeah, but also, I mean, now that you mentioned his comedic performances, I remembered also 108, which is like the Elysian Kingdom. And
Yes.
over there, he's like I mean, this is a role I've never seen him play before. I mean, that style of a character, and he just nailed every minute of it. It was
Oh
just
yeah. He's
really
such
a
a
pleasure to watch.
he plays such a slimy, weaselly kind of
Yeah,
guy in that episode. It's hysterical, especially if you
it
use
is.
the seeing him, especially if you saw him in Hell on Wheels, and
Yeah.
then to see him in Discovery, and then those first episodes of Strange New Worlds, and then this. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah, but it's that's what it takes to be a great actor. Like if
Yeah.
you can do one character, that's great. But like I think the secret is being versatile like that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Star Trek has a pretty good track record of hiring very good people, very smart, very capable, very talented
Mm,
people like yourself, uh, to work on these things. Like,
That's a good pun, actually.
uh,
Track record. I'm gonna use that for the album.
happy I could help.
Track record. I love it.
Yeah. Um, but Trek is known as a pretty competitive, pretty exclusive club to get into. The actors have talked about the very rigorous auditioning process, and some of the directors or like actors who have become directors have talked about the directing, the official, unofficial directing school that they go through on Trek. Can you give us the play-by-play of getting the gig on short treks,
In
and then
composer.
how that
Oh.
the progression of that to Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask like Michael or Jeff or Chris, any of the other composers or Dennis McCarthy, like I'm sure that they'll all have a different story and a different angle. I know there's like an infamous story about like James Horner, which I will not be repeating, but you can look it up.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's
out
all
there,
sorts of
folks.
ways. There's all sorts of ways where people got into working on track music. Um, and Jay Chataway, of course, I actually met him in Las Vegas last year in Star Trek Las Vegas. So yeah, it's my route was again a very lucky one. I'm very fortunate. So I worked with Giacchino on an American Pickle, and around that time he saw I was talented. And I was very good with picture, and I had a good sense. I mean, I'm still pretty good with picture, and I had a good sense to to drama. And he mentioned this to Alex Kurtzman, who's the main producer of Star Trek, the Star Trek franchise in general. He's the head of the Secret Hideout. And then they called me to do a short track, which I think in a way was sort of an addition really to more things, because the short track is quite short. It was about 15 minutes, I think, maybe even less.
Yeah,
It was
sounds
very
about right.
short. It was short. And I got lucky because it was a short about like for Spock's first day on the Enterprise, and I kind of felt the same because it was my first day on the Enterprise. Uh, and I tried to contain my excitement like a Vulcan would do. And I failed to do that, just like Spock on that episode. So it was a very similar trajectory, and I think I captured the feel of the character pretty well through the music. And so this was a very quick process. I think it took maybe a month or maybe a month and a half till we were done. So it was a spotting session, then maybe a round or two of revisions. Then we went to the orchestra, recorded it. It was a smaller ensemble, not what we have on Strange New Worlds or Prodigy. And then, off to the dub. So it was a very quick turnaround, but I think they liked what I did. And so then they reached out about like doing Prodigy. So the idea was that Michael would write a main theme and I would write the rest of the score, which ended up being 40 episodes. And I think that worked out really well. But at the time I didn't, I worked on the pilot and I submitted like my mock-ups, like here's my version of what what's gonna sound like. So this is what I called like first pass. And then we had a long meeting where the showrunners and Alex, of course, gave me so many notes. Like,
Oh, wow.
it was just notes from the beginning to the end. And then after Alex had to leave the call, Kevin and Dan were like, "Okay, we'll give you the rest of the notes." So this was like, I felt like it was, but they said we like this and this and this, but blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh my God, I have to change everything. Like, I'm gonna get fired." So it was a shaky start, but we finished a call, and then a few minutes after that I get an email from Alex's assistant, and they're saying like, "Oh, can you hop back into Zoom? Alex wants to meet with you again." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he has more notes." And then he actually he was like, "So I wanted to talk to you. We have another show and it's Strange New Worlds." And what do you think about doing the music? And that's like, that was completely unexpected. And I was like over the moon. And obviously that's not what I thought I was going to get more notes. It was
Right.
a
Yeah.
very,
It's just
very,
like, well, give
very
me
well,
another phone book of notes.
but it was a very welcome surprise. And I was like, okay, well, they did like what I did. They liked it enough to hire me on another show. So, obviously it felt like a great responsibility. It still feels like a great responsibility. But yeah, I think I got the gist of it pretty quickly. And
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to say also, on the second episode, there was no notes. No notes from the network. And then we had very little stuff like over the rest of the show. Like obviously Kevin and Dan and Ben for Prodigy would have a lot of great ideas, and a lot of, there would be some back and forth, but nothing as that like huge like
Yeah.
happened on the first episode. So I think I just needed to understand the direction of what we're going for. It takes
Yeah.
a
I,
minute.
I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but like looking at the short trek that you did, Q&A, which really is kind of like the precursor to Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
Um, but Prodigy and Strange New Worlds are very different shows. And even within the Star Trek universe, like Prodigy was very much geared for kids and folks who were not necessarily familiar with Star Trek, whereas Strange New Worlds was kind of a throwback to all of the stuff that eventually wound up in the original series, but with all the modern bells and whistles of, stuff that had, kind of gotten kicked off with Discovery and the Kelvin timeline movies. So looking at Prodigy as these kids find this ship, and it's kind of their journey on the ship, and sort of learning all about this stuff. It's very coming of age,
Mhm.
which that John Williams music seems to lend itself so well to, of course, Spielberg movies. Most of those are coming of age. And I wonder, like, was there a direction that you had that you recall, going into Prodigy of like, oh, it should sound more childlike or more fun or lighthearted or coming of age? Was that a thought, or was it like, oh, I'm gonna lean more towards the Star Trek, or was it a blending of the two? Am I in the ballpark somewhere?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting well, the main direction was don't do it Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah,
That's
I
good
mean
direction.
the John Williams reference is, because it's very tempting to do that.
Of
But
course.
like you always, it's always more Goldsmith than Williams. And I feel like that was one of my bigger influences there. Obviously Michael's tracks, and also this is a Michael theme. So the main title I think also dictated a little bit of the energy that we're gonna have. And it's a young, excited energy.
Yeah.
And then you're led by the characters the whole time. So again, I feel like my music is very character driven. So just watching those characters, and even before watching that, actually, like, this is even when I did sketch I this is a show where I actually did sketches based on scripts. Yeah, like I did the very initial themes, like wind theme. Like I did a lot of that stuff early on Jankum, like because I was like, okay, how, what's it gonna sound like?
Mm,
So, and then when the actual pilot episode came, and it was very, it's an animatic, you don't really see, still there's no color, like it's very abstract.
right.
But then it was like, okay, how do we refine the stuff that I already worked on, and the guys, like the guys, I mean the showrunners, and how do we take that and work, with the basic start that we have.
Hmm.
I think the direction was not necessarily childlike. It was actually cinematic. Like, try to go big.
Yeah.
Um, try to go big, try to like make it bigger than it is. And I think that works, and that's part of why we had a full orchestra there, and we wanted it to feel like, like a film every time, and not just, a TV episode. Which
Nailed
I
it.
think works. I think it really works. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that score. In fact, like it's probably like my second favorite score. First one being American Pickle. I mean, for my stuff. It's not my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah,
score
no, of
overall.
course.
But I'm very, very proud of it because of all the thematic work and the fact that like I could do a diviner theme in episode 1, and by episode 20 and even by episode 40, it's like have all these like different ways of of using it as the character evolves and changes and matures. But if you look back, you finished episode 40 and you go back to episode 1, the seed of it is already there. The seed of all of that, like, if you look at how motifs and themes are changing throughout, like, and it's really fun to do that because when the show allows the time for it. And I feel like Dan and Kevin and Ben created the show where there's so much room for the music to be it's like a character, really.
Yeah.
And but it's not always the case. Like I feel like animation allows that more.
One of the things that Bonnie Gordon conveyed to us and our listeners is that so much love goes into all of those episodes from every department. Like people, like they're very talented and they love Star Trek. Those seem to be like the two requirements, the two big requirements for working on these shows is like a very high level of talent and a very high level of appreciation for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well,
It's so interesting because I've noticed that with a lot of I mean, but a lot of the crew that I met, on Star Trek, Stranger Worlds, and on Prodigy. And I feel like on Prodigy, maybe because like until the even until you have the first episode, the show was in work for almost 2 years, you know, or even a little more until you have that animatic. Like it's such a long process to make an animation, and
right.
so it kind of becomes like a family. With Strange New Worlds, I kind of wish, we had more of that connection, but it's more like, okay, there's the production side and then there's post-production. So I would consider like, the post-production as a closer family in that sense because we spent more meetings together. We see each other on the dub. Like it's way more, there's more communication throughout the process. But what I really loved about Prodigy is that like you had a lot of connection during production because music was part of that as well. I
Yeah.
mean, technically it's post, but I was involved from very, very, very early on, which is really cool.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked a little bit about Strange New Worlds, and of course, the fandom is chomping at the bit for the new season.
Mm, me
What,
too.
if anything, can you tell us about Strange New Worlds season 3? Because
Oh.
I'm dying. I'm dying over here.
Yeah, there's 10 episodes. I think you know
Okay.
that
All
already.
right.
Everyone knows that.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Pike is in it.
Oh, okay,
Oh
good.
yeah.
All right. So Pike.
Uhura is also in it.
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah.
It's about the Enterprise. They're in space. But yeah, no, I can say that like there's one episode that blew my mind away. And it actually took the Inner Light out of the first place for me. And
Ooh.
now Inner Light has become second favorite episode of all time. And
Okay.
this episode has become first. And I really felt like I mean, I'm very curious to see the reaction of Trekkies and viewers in general, to see if I connected so strongly because of a personal level, like because it reflects a lot of what I wish for myself or like for my community.
Can you
Or
expand on that a little bit?
I don't think I can expand without people seeing the episode. So
Okay. All
we
right.
can discuss that next time after it airs.
Sure thing.
But sometimes as a composer, I get to see the story a long time before the rest of the world.
Right.
And so I translate it the way I feel like that story is very universal and people will connect with it, but also I view it from the perspective of Nami, who is, you know, with all the background of where I come from, or like the sum of my experiences. Obviously, every person has their own sum of their experiences.
Of course.
So I sometimes I wonder, like, is my score is a reflection just of the story, or maybe how I perceive it because of, the emotions I feel toward it in a way that, like, because it's a reflection of what I wish or what I want, or like what, how I see this translate into the world. So it's
Yeah.
it's interesting. But anyway, I felt with this episode, I first of all I cried a lot. So that's probably
Oh,
a hint to where this episode is going.
I
Um,
cry at the drop of a hat, so
yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but it happened to me also with some Prodigy episodes, especially like number 20, number 19, 40, I think even 10. But I'm very sensitive too. But when I, repeatedly see a show and I still like, as I work on it, I find it like, it works on me. I get very, I'm like, I know this is gonna be a really good episode.
Oh,
So, and then I feel like I just let things, kind of flow from, from here, from the piano.
of
Um,
course.
so it's interesting. I really hope people will like it. Yeah, I can't wait actually. So
So
sadly I'll need to wait a little bit longer.
this will be my last sort of Strange New World season 3 digging that I'll
Mhm.
ask, and I'm going to try to be careful about what I ask because I know there's not a lot that you can say, but I will say like what we've seen in Strange New Worlds one and season 1 and 2 is that every episode's kind of like a little mini movie,
Mhm.
and with that comes the appropriate music. Like the rom-com episodes are going to sound a lot different than the episodes with the Gorn.
Yeah.
Now, from what we've seen of the season 3 trailer, is there's one episode in particular that has a very 60s look to it. Don't know how that comes about. Don't know how much that entails. But what I will ask is with things like that, do you get to experiment with other types of music and genres and styles from particular time periods when it's things like that?
Yeah, well, one thing I can say is that, like, I think the trailer does include a bit of the score there, of the score from that episode. So
Okay.
that will tell you where that episode is really heading.
Mhm.
Um, and yes, on season 3, uh, we used different ensembles. I guess that would be an appropriate answer. We had episodes where it was our, very beloved orchestra. And then there were episodes where we added percussions to it, and there were episodes where we added guitar for it, and there was one episode where we didn't have an orchestra. It was just a smaller ensemble, just strings and guitars and like other things that you will hear. So with that, yeah, I think that season really allowed to explore different ways to do music for Star Trek. And as a composer, I think that's a cool challenge because you still have to be within the realm of, our show. The Pike is still Pike.
Right.
Spock is still Spock. But obviously, I mean, in every Star Trek episode, you can, you go to a certain planet, say, and there's like the feel of that planet, and or like a theme for a new character that comes in,
Right.
or like the pirates or whatever. Like there's so many ways
Oh,
to do,
sure.
and that's where I mean those variations come in. Like you get to experiment, you get to do different things. I have just started season 4, and that's I know it's 401. And I know I already know that it's going to continue like those explorations, which is fun. It's like, it's basically going boldly to places where Trek has not gone before, and I think that includes the music. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for revealing as much as you could
Yeah.
about season 3. I am super excited for it. It's been I'm consistently driving people, even folks who are not familiar with Star Trek. I'm like, Strange New Worlds. It's a banger. It's really, really great. So thank you. And thank you for your contributions to it, because it's such a good show. I love that show so much.
Yeah, and it's again, it's so fun to get to try. I mean, in different things, like as you say, like there was this romantic episode with, the alternate timeline of Lon and Kirk.
Love that
And
episode.
then you do this like love theme, and that it'll come back later in the season, which it did, in her memory, like the
Right.
way she pursues Kirk. And then but there was a specific moment in that episode where it was again doing something completely different. It was when she meets Young Khan, right? Like the boy. And like to me, that was again such a fun experiment, because we were like, what if, the viola would play that solo together with the like a violin? It's so strange. And it worked out so well. And I've never done that on the score before. Like it was, it needed to be like, delicate, but still, in a way, not exactly that naive. So it was interesting. It was an interesting, trial. And I want to go back to that theme, but like so far there's no opportunity.
Well, and this is kind of I don't know. People listening won't see me while Nami was just talking, almost have my head explode as she mentioned the episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which we actually just recorded with our friend Joe Dove from Captain's Quadrant. But I actually asked him about the music and to see if he heard what I heard in that moment where Lon meets Khan. And I thought for a second that I heard a bit of the song Pure Imagination.
Interesting.
And
I I will listen to it.
to be honest, like I think one of the best versions of that, and I'm sure it's been covered by tons and tons of people, but are from the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That
Mhm.
and there, and again, it was so subtle. I had to rewind the episode like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, am I hearing this or am I going crazy? But it made me kind of take this journey down of character exploration of like, why am I hearing this while I'm seeing this particular interaction? And it made me think of like, Okan is a kid who doesn't get to have pure imagination. He doesn't get to be a kid. And some of that is coming into focus for Lon. And this whole thing, if you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Khan doesn't get that. And some of those things, and I'm gonna wrap this part of the discussion up because I can feel I'm about to start crying.
No, I mean, it's fascinating. I now I kind of want to listen to the song and the lyrics and the context of,
It was
because
like,
it was not intentional, but now I'm very curious.
yeah, there was a little, it was
hear
like a
again.
da-na-na-na. It was, again, it's really short, it's really subtle, but I was like, it took me, the rewinding was like, I know I've heard that little da-da-da-da, like I've heard that before. What is that? And
Da-da, da-da-dum,
yeah,
da-da-da-da, da-da-dum. Yeah. I think this is what I call happy accident.
great. Yeah, it didn't dawn on me of just like, oh, I'm gonna talk to Nami. I'll have to ask her about it. But as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, oh, I've talked
Yeah.
about the music of this before.
Yeah. It's one of these moments again, like I explained in animation, like when there's suddenly more room for the music to give, to take control, not control, but like to be at the forward of the moment. I love
Yeah.
that stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's so great. So, again, thank you for everything you do. But let's go back. And one of the things that I normally ask someone who comes on with a very specific skill set, and who is also a big fan of Star Trek, what came first for you, music or Star Trek?
I think a lot of Trekkies will be disappointed by this answer, but music came first.
Oh, that's great.
Music came first, and the music of Star Trek also came first before Star Trek. So my introduction to Star Trek was actually the Jerry Goldsmith theme. That was the first time I was like, what is this great score?
Right.
Yeah, music was something that was present in my life since I was 8 years old. Like the
Mm,
studying an instrument and like playing and taking lessons, being in an orchestra, playing ensembles, playing combos, writing. This all was prior to my interest in sci-fi or in film. Uh, Slowly, it kind of became a together thing. So music and film and TV became connected.
mm.
Like I understood that like what I the a big part of what I love about like storytelling is the background music that comes with it.
Yeah.
So, like the emotional aspect of it isn't reinforced by the music. But yeah, the music was first. It's uh it's
What
interesting.
what was your instrument of choice? I've seen some photos of you with a flute, but
Hmm.
was that your first instrument?
No, flute is definitely an instrument of choice. I love it and I still play it. It's actually here.
Oh,
Right
yeah, there
behind
it
me.
is.
But right behind me.
Cool.
Yeah, I pick it up a lot. Like I love improvising and I'll still like this would be, the instrument I choose if we jam, like or friends come over or if I go somewhere, it's easy to pick it up. It's easy to and I just love using it and playing with it. And it's very versatile. You could play, songs, you could play jazz, you could play anything really. But it's not the first instrument. The first instrument is piano. I
Mm,
started piano when I was 8. And then the second instrument was actually oboe.
interesting.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that, but like when they started a school orchestra when I was 9 years old,
Mm.
and the conductor was the person who sort of assigned instruments to the kids. And I think he saw me and thought, "Oh, this girl's stubborn. Like she's got the chops for the oboe." Because you have to be very like you have to really want it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was hard to produce sound. Unlike piano or guitar, where you just you pull a string or you press on a key on the keyboard and it will sound. Some instruments are more difficult to produce sound, like oboe or violin, let's say.
Right.
I tried for 2 years and I actually enjoyed it. I miss it. One day I will go back to the oboe. There was a couple of things that were a little um problematic with that oboe. First one is that it was hard to breathe, like and it was very hard to produce the sound. And I don't know if people are familiar with the oboe, but like when you play it, you basically hold it very close to you. It's like kind of like you hold a recorder,
Mm,
but so your body is very it can be very intense. Like you're like closed up in a way.
yeah.
And then so it's not really my personality. And then the other issue with it was that I would break the reeds all the time. And the reeds are very these
Oh,
little delicate, I don't know if it's bamboo or it's very like delicate. You can
yeah.
break it very easily, and every reed was about $30 at the time,
Ooh.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
When you add that like twice a week or once a week, you break the reed, and then you pay for lessons, you rent the instrument, like it becomes like a big expense.
Yeah.
And at some point, my parents suggested like, what if we change to the flute? And my aunt was playing the flute, so I was like, oh, this is cool and interesting. And the flute, like, first of all, it doesn't break because it's metal.
Of course.
And it's easier to produce sound because you just it's just a fact.
Yeah.
And then you play it like you are totally, your body is like completely, you hold it up in the air, it's open, it's like it's out there.
Yeah.
So in many ways I felt the flute was a very good fit, and I played flute ever since. And then I also picked up a guitar. This was a few years later.
Hmm.
My cousin was playing one summer, and we had a family vacation, and he was playing, and he was so cool. And I was like, oh, I want to be as cool as my cousin.
Of course.
And then he gave me this chord book so I could learn how to hold it and how to play it. And he showed me some stuff, very basic songs. Obviously the Metallica one that everyone, Nothing Else Matters. That's the
Of
first one you
course.
always learn on
Everybody
guitar.
learns that.
Yeah. But I learned a lot of other like rock classic, like Wild Horses, like that kind of stuff. It was really nice. And yeah, so that's how those instruments came to be. And then, slowly I picked up many other instruments, and I'm still learning the clarinet. It's been a few years now that I don't have
Wow.
time, but whenever I do, I do like to pick it up and try things.
That's cool. Yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned your cousin, your aunt. So does music run in the family?
Yes and no. I mean, this is like half a lifetime ago. So
Mm,
my aunt doesn't play anymore. I hope she will at some point, because I think it's a great thing and it's really fun, and she still has the flute.
yeah.
Maybe I'll send her this podcast.
Hey.
Ruthie, pick up the flute. And my cousin does play for fun, but like it's just it's a hobby. And yeah, no one else in the family is a musician, so it's just me.
Wow. Well, to let you know, we've actually had a lot of veterans on the show that talk about Star Trek as their safe place, and have been kind enough to share their stories. I saw that you actually served in the Israeli Defense Force. Is that correct?
Hmm.
I was
Yeah.
wondering if you could kind of um take us through, like, so you learn music and you're kind of introduced to these things as a kid, and this is I imagine this was a bit of a shift, a bit of a different environment. Were you able to continue playing music there? Were you able to utilize that in any part of your service? A buddy of mine, Phil, is actually one of the conductors for the Air Force band.
Oh, that's so
um
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
he was in fact, I remember him. He and I went to breakfast and he was just like, I don't know what to do with my life, man. I'm this struggling musician. I'm sleeping on a couch, da 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 da. And then I didn't see him for a while. And then on social media, he posted, well, headed to New York. And I was like, what is he doing in New York? And then he posted the photos of him at the Macy's Day Parade. And I was just like, that son of a. I guess he figured
Well,
out what to do with his life.
I mean, John Williams was in the Air Force band, so you never know where this career will take you. I think a lot of great musicians came from marching bands and from army bands too.
There's quite a
Um,
few.
yeah, I think there's a famous American composer. I mean, apart from John Williams, but like there's another famously huge American composer. I'll come up with the name probably after the podcast. But
Well,
his works were very influenced by his dad was a marching band director, and he would put those marching bands like in his scores a lot. This is a classical composer,
oh, wow.
classical contemporary. I'll remember who that person is, but I listened to a lot of his music before.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating, like how he was influenced by it. But yeah, I think to your question, this is all like a whole other podcast. I feel like we can dive into this for like 3 more hours, about how I really agree with the perspective of your friends that like um Star Trek in a way is a safe home, or let's say and I love that they did because Starfleet is there's obviously the exploratory part of it, but in a way it's also like there's a military part to it,
Yeah, of course.
and
Based
they
on the
serve.
United States Navy, Gene
Yeah,
Roddenberry served. Yeah, of
obviously, and it's even the titles captain and like the
course.
lieutenant, like all this all the ensign, like all of that stuff is very militaristic. They're wearing uniform, um and so I totally agree with that. I also I think one of the episodes I really loved to do in particular was the Memorial Day episode, that it was for 104. I
Yes,
don't know the name of that episode, but it's the first time we're introduced to the Gorn as an enemy.
right.
But it starts on like a Memorial Day moment, and it ends that way too.
Yeah.
So, for me, it felt very personal. I feel like a lot, and this might be the best score of that season, to be honest.
Wow.
I will go ahead and say that it might be the best score. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, and I think that's for a reason because it came from my own experiences, like how I felt about it, during that time, and from, growing up in an environment where, yes, I mean, there are threats all the time, and you lose people that you love, and you never know what's going to happen, and like even today, um, you're constantly concerned about what's going to be and what's going to happen. I do feel, in my military service, which was like 18 years ago. Um, I wanted to do something more meaningful. Like I didn't want to go to, it's funny to say that, but like more meaningful. But like I could go to the orchestra or like to play in one of the bands, the army bands, but I felt like I wanted to do something, that is a bigger service.
Yeah.
It's funny because now when I look at it, I'm like, wait, why is it not a big service to do music? It is. It's uplifting, it's helpful. Um, but at the time I knew that this was going to be like a kind of a job from 8 to 11 a.m. kind of thing, or like
Yeah.
1 p.m. and then they go home. Like I had one of my sister's friends was in that like army orchestra. So I knew that like if I get in, this is what is going to happen. So and I wanted to do something more interesting. And I think at the end of the day, I think it was actually very helpful what I did to my life and to the person I am today. Like I was an interviewer, so I had your job basically.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
yeah, I was basically in the recruitment office where we talked to like kids in the end of high school. Like it's funny to call them kids, but like people who are like 17 about to be 18 and enlist. And so you kind of evaluate their personality and their skill and what they want, their motivation. Like there's a lot of stuff where you're basically the first face that like they see
Yeah.
when they come. So you want to listen to them, you want to be like obviously respectful and everything, and also kind of understand, okay, what is where how can we meet this person, like to help them, and where would they be a good fit in, and like maybe like also kind of weed out the stuff we should be worried about, and like people that might need financial help or would need to be close to home to support their family, or like
Yeah.
would need more support from their commanders, or don't go to combat because they have like all sorts of like issues, mental issues, or drug problems, or like whatever things that may cause an issue. So it was a lot of people skills actually, and it was a lot about learning about the world, because I was this kid from a nice neighborhood in kind of not Tel Aviv, but like a suburb of Tel Aviv. So it's a very specific life that I had until I was 18. And then I go on to I was serving next to the Sea of Galilee for a long time, and then in Jerusalem. And so it's very different communities that you meet. You meet like Orthodox people, you meet religious people, you meet Druze people, you meet Bedouin, you meet Arab people. Like it's very interesting to see the society around you. So it's kind of like out of your bubble, and in a way it's kind of like Star Trek because it's like infinite diversity and infinite combinations. I feel like Israel
Absolutely.
is very, very much an embodiment of that. And it's funny because like today people will call Israel in different names without knowing all these facts. Like they're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
white colonized, whatever. But like the fact is, like the majority of Israelis are actually not white. So it's very interesting that like it's actually a place with a lot of diversity. So yeah, just the thought. But I feel like the military service gives you a lot of resilience and gives you a lot of persistence and like sense of discipline and self-discipline.
Yeah.
That is very helpful in your career moving forward. So and obviously your contribution to your society, or to it's just you become independent very quickly. And I feel like all these skills are very useful when working with people
Yeah.
in Hollywood and outside of Hollywood too. And also it made me realize I'm really fascinated by stories, by storytelling, because I
Yeah.
met, 6 to 7 people every day where stories I've never heard before, and I got to dive into them because like, sometimes an interview would be very quick, like 30 minutes, but sometimes it could go like 2.5 hours, depending on where the story takes us. And
Right.
like how a deep dive we're going. And I found it fascinating. It was really fun. And like some of these stories I still remember till today. And
Wow.
I'm like, I wonder what happened to these people, you know? I hope they're
Yeah.
good.
Um,
But it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. That's what I'm saying. It could be a whole podcast about just that.
I was gonna say, I think maybe we need to. I'll soft pitch you a, coming back on the show just to explore this in light of Star Trek and veterans who have served, and maybe we can sort of dive into that a little bit more because
Sure.
the stories that I've heard, the stories that I have, the stories that my father has from his service.
Where did he serve?
He was in Vietnam.
Wow.
He was in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
Yeah. And the stuff that I've been able to get him to tell me because he didn't want to talk
Yeah.
about a lot of it. But the stuff he did tell me was like sobering
Yeah.
to say the least. And I think because I think I'm a few years older than you. 9/11 happened my senior year. So a lot of the guys I played
Oh,
football with, their post high school plans changed that day.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was, looking at stuff like, my good friend Patrick Cunningham, who's a comedian and served United States Army. He talks about Deep Space Nine and the character of Nog, who is injured in combat, and that's his guy, that's his character, and he's
Yeah.
just but his wife, Patrick's wife, can see when Pat's having a hard time and says, "Hey, do you want to watch some Star Trek?" And he's like, "Mm-hmm, yes, yes, we should watch some Star Trek right now." But anyway, I just wanted to
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit, and I appreciate your service. And it's tough out there. It's an experience that not a lot of people will have and
Yeah.
understand and truly appreciate. So, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's interesting. I agree, and yes, I mean we could talk about it. I feel like this is something. I'm sorry, just one more thing.
Yeah.
There's mandatory service also. I mean, not just Israel, but like Korea, like
Mm-hmm.
South Korea
Mm-hmm.
and Switzerland, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there is a value to that.
Very
And I
much.
really hope that like they would adopt that like or some kind of a social service, some kind of give back to the people around you. I
Yeah.
feel like that really it doesn't only serve the society, it serves you too.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad your dad came back
Me too.
and rebuilt his life, and it sounds like he got a good son. So
Oh, thanks very
he must
much.
be very proud.
Every time I try to explain to him what I do for a living, he's like, "Really? It's all about Star Trek?" I was like, "Well, it's more than that, Dad." He goes, "You're not telling jokes anymore?" He's like, "No, I still tell jokes. It's just, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Um, well, going through, again, moving through kind of, taking big steps through the timeline of your life here and your career. Um, we've explored many resumes of folks working on Trek here on the show. We almost always talk about the writers, the directors. We don't have a chance to talk about everybody. But you by far have worked. I think you have worked on more shorts and documentaries than anyone else we've talked about
Mhm.
on the show. Um, the first being On Tiptoes in 2009. Is that
Oh
correct?
wow. That's like
Yeah.
forever ago. You
Yeah.
dive deep. Okay.
So, was there something that kind of drew you to these early on, or was it an opportunity that
Mhm.
presented itself and you just dug it, or based on your numerous awards and your level of skill, are you just that damn good, like that people just seek you out for
Well, yeah.
projects?
I'll take the credit, sure. I
Yeah.
am that good. But at the time I wasn't that good.
Mm,
So, I really am a strong believer, and this goes to any career. So I'm a strong believer that you create your own opportunity. And so if you want something out there, you have to go and create it, and you have
yes.
to be valuable for the person, you want to work with. You have to make yourself indispensable, and you have to, to do your best at it. So, those early projects, that this was during the time I was, either before the Academy of Music in Jerusalem or after, like it was around that time. And I actually seeked out these opportunities. I reached out to filmmakers. I posted things on websites where, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get a job, or like I responded to posts or messages of like, oh, we're looking for this kind of composer, or like this for a composer for this movie. And I remember pitching. I basically submitted an email to this guy who posted about a movie. And then by the time he got back to me, he said, I already have like a person, but also I have another documentary I've been working on. And then that's kind of how our relationship started. This was Roy. Um, he's the director of that short.
Yeah.
So this is just an example, but like that led to a lot of other projects with him. And so I mean, those opportunities, I really wanted to go out there and really get hands-on experience with writing. Um, and not just, it was not just for film, it was commercials and web series and even company image films, like anything that made sense for me to write, even like little animations that were done by cinema, like animation school kids,
Oh, cool.
students, thesis films, everything that like would create a repertoire for me, or like let me practice on this really, and because it's like when a student is making a film, basically everyone's learning on it, like right,
Yeah.
like we're all honing our skill, and it's and you create friendships along the way. So I felt like, the more the merrier, which I still stand by. I think it's great. And obviously the more you do, the more confident you become, and the more uh, not just on the outside, but also on the inside,
Very true.
and your
Yeah.
music becomes good. And you have more to show. And so it's like this kind of it's like I don't know what's it called, like it grows. It's like a thing that grow.
Oh
Um,
yeah. It's a like a plant, it's
yeah, you put a seed, and then there's like more and more and more, and then ultimately you'll have a forest. So, and the a director of a certain movie will be like, oh, we have a screening in a festival, and then other directors see your work, or like the editor of this movie sees your work, and this editor is hired on a different project, and that editor is like, oh, I know Nami, she's great, like you should hire her. And then, this is kind
nice.
of how it's like a snowball, that in a very positive snowball. But I think in order to get that snowball going, you have to be very active, and do that. So that's what I was doing with these independent films. And the thing with that is a lot of times, you're trying to find topics that you will enjoy working on, that you will relate to.
Of
And I
course.
find that like a lot of documentaries, and if you look through my credits, a lot of the stuff I really, really enjoyed. And so it was like it made so much sense to be part of these teams, because we were working toward a certain, story to tell together. There was like this was already here in LA, but like there's a group called Outfest, like it's a LGBTQ film festival.
Mm.
And they were doing a program called Outset, where they kind of helped young filmmakers to create a project. So they gave a little bit of budget and mentorship, and like I was like, oh, can I volunteer to do the music, like for a couple of the films? And it was really fantastic, because you get to work with these community of people that you like, and like to do a story about like characters you care about and you want to tell their story. And then you screen it on a big screen, and a lot of people come, and like some of my best friends to this day are from that little screening that we did.
Oh, that's
So it's,
cool.
you never know. So I think as long as you follow the stuff you care about and your heart, and like it'll lead you to where you want to be. Obviously, those films ended up, leading me to Star Trek. So, I still do independent stuff, by the way. I just have a film in Tribeca this year. So I'm gonna
Cool.
go. Yeah.
So lesson to you kids listening. If you're wanting to get your foot in, like student films, short projects, it's a great in. It's a great foot in the door. You start networking. Um, Can you take us through? I imagine like working on those and building those relationships and meeting all of those people and getting to work on all those projects and your the level of talent that you have coming to the surface probably led to you working with Michael Giacchino
Mhm.
on American Pickle. Of course, listeners of this show, we've talked about not only his work on the Kelvin timeline films, but we talked about Lost a lot. Um, he's done a bunch of Medal of Honor and Call of Duty games, Pixar, Marvel. The list goes on and on. But can you talk about meeting him and getting to work with him and seeing his process and how that what you learned through that relationship and what that working relationship was like?
Yeah, so I am still feeling very surreal that Michael is in my like text messages. Like this is very surreal to me.
That's awesome.
And I love every second of spending time with him. Yeah, so the whole thing started in 2019. I just started sort of, it's funny, it's like kind of I'm gonna call it dating my agent because I didn't, it's like when you're starting to see someone, it's like you're not exclusive. It's like very, maybe it'll work out, maybe not. So that's a lot of agencies are kind of doing that where you're seeing them, but like you're not committed just yet.
Yeah.
Um, and then, they did one deal for me with Amazon Prime, like they had a show. So I brought that deal to the agency and they did the deal on my behalf. And then they're like, I was already kind of in their radar. We had the lunch thing and all of that. And then they like my agent Maria, she sent me a pitch. This was how it works in Hollywood. Like um, you know, a certain production company is making a movie and sometimes they'll reach to certain composers that they want to hear their reels or their music. Sometimes they'll already kind of have a specific person in mind. Or like, if it's a franchise, a lot of time they'll go to the same person that did the first Toy Story or whatever.
Right.
Um, uh, and then a lot of times they'll be like, okay, send us your best, ideas. They'll go to an agency and be like, okay, who do you think is a good fit for this? So I think on this one, what happened is like Point Grey has worked with Michael Giacchino on 50/50. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a great score, a great movie, I have to say. Like everyone, if you have the time, it's a really wonderful film. And anyway, they reached out to Maria to see if Michael is available. But also they were like, send us whatever, in case. Whoever you think is a good fit. And then I got this picture on like I think it was Friday kind of thing. And then I was like, okay, well, this has to be like a Jewish, some klezmer maybe, comedy, drama-ish, a little fantasy. Okay, I'm gonna put a reel together. This has to be for Monday. Luckily I had a bunch of like previous materials, like, short films I did. I did even like an art exhibition for a friend of mine who's, this is so, but she wanted Jewish music and I had, I worked on that and she had it. So I already had stuff in my, on my portfolio that would fit that. But also I read what the story was about and I actually wrote a couple of pieces and I asked my cousin to play the clarinet. He recorded this on his iPhone from
Oh,
Florida.
wow.
Uh, and so I had a little bit, it was performed, a little bit live. Most of the rest was, just my samples. And then I submitted the reel and I didn't hear back from them for like 4 weeks as usual.
Yeah.
And but I had so much confidence this one's going to work out, and it did. I get a call, and on the call was Maria, my agent, and Michael Giacchino, and he's saying like, "Oh, hi Nami, how are you doing?" And I was like, "What?" Like, I never talked to him. I don't, I know the guy, but like I don't know him. Like
Right,
I never
right.
met him. Um, so I was like, "Is this my birthday?" What the fuck? And he's like, yeah, he totally went with the joke. He's like, yeah, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. Also, there's this movie, American Pickle, and I thought maybe we could work on the score together. And then, I was shocked because, still feeling that surreal moment. Like I can still feel it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then we met, we had lunch. And then I think our next meeting was already on the film. Like that was all very, very quick. Maybe a month later, we met with Seth Rogen and like Brandon, the director, Brandon Thorst, and everyone on the team, like even Goldberg. So yeah, it all happened, and obviously the film itself took way longer to do, and there was like a hiatus in the middle, and then they reshot a lot of the scenes, and then they didn't use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But yeah, I learned so much from just being in Michael's world. First of all, I didn't know what it was like to work with a team, because coming from an indie world, I was
Yeah.
doing everything.
Yeah.
I was doing the orchestration, I was doing the music prep, I was mixing my own stuff. I was doing everything, even calling the musicians to ask them to play something,
Yeah.
which is called contracting.
Mm,
I would do all that stuff for myself and for other people, and the gig industry where you're after school, you do everything.
of course.
And for me, I needed to do stuff in music world, and I was doing all of that, and also for myself. And all of a sudden, I am in a place where, Michael has like an orchestrator, and he has an assistant. And this is, it's like, okay, this is how you work with an orchestra. This is a mixer. Like, this is an engineer. This is a contractor. Like all of
Wow.
that stuff, I had no idea. And also how to delegate and how to even, you know, and then, so that's on the technical side. And then there was the people skill side, which Michael is one of the most funny people I know. He's just hilarious. Like it's so fun to be around him. And he's very, very smart and like charismatic. And so there's a lot to learn in the way that he, communicates and how he speaks with directors and filmmakers and how he conducts like all of that part of the job. So I
Yeah.
think that was like amazing stuff you don't learn at school, but
Oh, very
just
much.
being there and seeing it. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, obviously on the musical storytelling side, there was, I feel like over there was a lot of fit between us, like, because he saw the stuff I was doing for the pickle movie, and then slowly, and then, he was like, why don't you just, you write the score. Like he did the theme, I wrote the score. So it was very generous of him to like let me do that.
Yeah.
But he very much approved the way I was going with it and the way I was thinking about the picture. And so sometimes he would have very, very clever ideas, and I was like, oh, I should have thought about that, or just very little notes that would change the perspective of how you're seeing something as the viewer.
Yeah.
Um, that would make a lot of sense. So I learn a lot. It's mainly spotting stuff, to be honest. Like he'll be like, okay, I love that, you start this note here, just take the same note, start it like a bar or two earlier, and this would like sort of lead you into like we know that something's coming right before the camera does it. Like, so it creates more tension. Like it's very little things, but they make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And I found it very fascinating. I remember on Pickle, there was one thing I wrote, which was this trumpet fun thing. And then he's like, this is so great for the credits. Like, don't do it here. So, sometimes I think as a younger composer or like an excited one, you really need to tame yourself. And I feel like, I learned a lot from Michael in that way too, where like,
Mm,
okay, this is fantastic. It's not going to be good for this.
right.
So, be mindful and critical of yourself. So yeah, there's a bunch of, I can continue again, this could be a whole podcast about like what I learned and continuously learn from him on other projects too, like Thor and Borat and like other like I mean Medal of
Yeah.
Honor, of course. There was a lot of learn, and even on Prodigy, like even on that theme, and he joined one of our sessions, like I think when we did the title. Uh, so it's really fascinating, just to be in his orbit, really.
Well, let me ask you this about because you mentioned with the Memorial Day episode of Strange New Worlds, and you did the music for Medal of Honor. Were you able to kind of channel again some of your experiences with Israeli Defense Force? Like, were you able to kind of channel that into
Into Medal
the
of Honor.
music for that project?
Interesting. I would say actually no, because
Really?
yeah, this is a very interesting one, but this also goes to Michael's advice again, so it's all going to tie together.
Yeah.
Um, but when we in Israel learned a lot about World War II, we learned the very basics of the war itself, like as the the war maneuvers, like what happened.
Hmm.
Um, but we learn it mainly from the perspective of the Holocaust and the rise of the Nazism, and like how and then the end of it, where how the Allies sort of worked it out. You know, we learned that, but like not to a point where it's less of the focus.
Mm.
And even in my personal story in my family, like my grandpa survived the camps. My grandma was hiding in the Netherlands.
Wow.
So and like the rest of the family is pretty much gone. So from that personal angle, again, like I never experienced the actual story of the war from the perspective of a soldier, an
Hmm.
American soldier or a British soldier that came and had to, to take over Normandy. Like that's, I know the end of the story, that like the Russian soldiers saved my grandpa and the British soldiers released the Netherlands. Like they were, my grandma is was very thankful to them till the day she passed.
Yeah.
Um, but so coming to that story, obviously I have my very strong feelings and my very deep connection to that history. And I'm extremely from an extremely grateful perspective of like I really, I knew what, what effort it was, but I didn't channel my IDF experience into there.
Hmm.
Um, and then the interesting thing was when we talked about the project, Michael actually said like, hey, maybe, here's some reading materials. And I actually really dived into like Band of Brothers, the book. I didn't even
Yes.
know there was a show. And then I also dived into D-Day, the again, the book.
Hmm.
Um, and those couple of books really changed my entire perspective on what it was like to be a soldier, and even just to go through the training and then go into that like that continent and
Yeah.
do that. So and I thought it was the right prep, because emotionally when you read a book, it's a longer thing, like it's not
Mm.
just like watching a show.
Hmm.
It's like you have to imagine it, you have to feel it very very strongly with the person who's telling the story.
Yeah.
It's from a first person perspective, a lot of that stuff. And so I felt like this was a great introduction to how I'm supposed to feel when I'm prepping for this game. And the game director Peter Hirschman, like I knew how big this was for him, the research as well, because they also did extreme research, it's extremely well. Like they went to Europe, they researched even the sounds of what the guns that like were used, the tanks, like all of that.
Yeah.
And then they also wanted it not just to be a game where it's a first person shooter, but also that there will be added value. So they added these little documentaries into the game. Those
Wow.
documentaries were with veterans of World War II, and also this resistance fighter Colette, who was 16 when the Nazis were conquered France, and so that movie actually won the Oscar after that. I don't
Oh,
know if
wow.
you're familiar, but like it won the
Jeez.
Oscars, and it's an EA produced film, which is part of Medal of Honor. So, but that all of that added value, and me like scoring a lot of these shorts also, kind of added to the whole meaningfulness of the game for me, and like I think for everyone who plays it. Like it's not just about winning and shooting some Nazis. This was about real people, and
Mm.
I hope it was reflected in the music, but the stress of what it's like to land there.
Right.
um like yeah, I mean it's there's what I'm saying is the prep was a big part of it for me, like a big part of where the music ended up going.
That's wild. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of off base, but a little bit of my fandom. I'm currently reading my I'm currently reading my first James Bond book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and for folks who are not super familiar with the literary side of James Bond, it's not just Daniel Craig and fancy gadgets. The character of James Bond, he's Commander James Bond. He served in Her Majesty's Navy. You know, he didn't have a lot of gadgets. He had a gun and a knife, and that was about it. But he served in World War II. That's part of his background. And so as you're reading these, it's like, oh yeah, this is happening 1950s, 1960s, leading up to, Casino Royale and stuff like that, where like
Mm,
a radio transmitter was considered like very high technology. And
wow.
they talk about and again, reading a novel is very different from a video game, very different from a TV show, very different from a movie. But reading what's going on in his head as he makes his first kill and stuff like that, having talked with a lot of veterans, having talked with my father, the things that are, this is going to be a very short soapbox, but the
Mhm.
things that can often be glorified in mass media, what those things actually mean. And we talked a little bit about earlier about military service being something that it's not everybody's going to have that experience. Not everybody's going to appreciate what that means. And a lot of it gets tied in with like the government goings on, but I'm talking about like boots on the ground type folks.
Mhm.
That's a very unique experience, and they've gone through a very specific thing, sometimes horrifying. And just we're recording this towards the end of May. Memorial Day is right around the corner. If you
Mhm.
if you know a veteran, please thank them. Slide them a cold one, slide them a hot dog, whatever. But just know that these people um, did have had a harrowing experience, and there's only so many ways that that gets conveyed, and sometimes we lose our way with what we perceive as military experience, what we perceive as these wonderful things. And World War II, I heard a comedian the other day talking about being, USA being back to back World War champs. Like it's a funny bit, but like at the same time, look at everything that was happening stateside during that. There was war's a tough thing. It's
Yeah.
not everybody comes out clean. Even the victors don't even come out clean.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a fascinating thing to look into and to study and to read about. I read a book called All American about a couple guys that played in the Army Navy football game and
Mhm.
ended up kind of serving. They played against each other and then ended up serving together overseas.
Mhm.
Again, a fascinating look at a very particular slice of that experience. And wow, just eye opening. Yeah. So
Yeah. Wow. I want to read it.
yeah, it's a fantastic book if you can find. I'll shoot you the link.
Okay. Yeah.
It's worth checking out. Um, so normally I would kind of ask what do you want to work on next, but I think you're going to be with Star Trek for a while. Your stuff is really fantastic. But do you have any other dream gigs of like I would love to work on it, because you've worked on some incredible stuff already, but like, is there anything like in the back of your nerdy brain that's just kind of like, oh, I want to work on this particular thing, or I want to work with this particular person, or
Yeah.
anything that you want to speak into existence, anything you want to
Yeah.
manifest
I
here
mean,
on the mic?
I will go for it. Funny you should mention Dream Gig because I feel like Dream Productions for Pixar was exactly that. And I would like absolutely, I think my top one dream is to do a Pixar movie. I feel like, just by being in that studio, you're so inspired. And also like the people just I have like all the good things in the world to say about like Pixar and the projects that like I watched as a teenager and
Yeah.
even today like I'm extremely inspired and like it's always so smart. It's funny and it's emotional and it's just brilliant on so many layers. The other projects that okay, I'm gonna nerd out completely here, but like
Please.
obviously any Star Trek is welcome, any Star Wars. I was blown away by Andor. I think Tony Gilroy is so brilliant. It's
Wow.
incredible. So,
Yeah.
um, if I had to like go for a filmmaker right now, I'd say Tony Gilroy just because of, I mean, not just because of that, but like mainly because I just finished Andor and it was stunning. And then I watched Rogue One again because, I had to. And then I watched A New Hope because I had to.
Yeah, of course you
So,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
that's the rule. I don't make the rules.
I know. It's like there was no choice, you know. My cat wanted to do that. He said we have to continue the marathon. So yeah, there's that. I know that like it might be controversial, but I love Marvel stuff too. I love
Nothing wrong with that.
Marvel. And I don't just say it because of Thor. But I have been a Marvel fan, so anything Marvel I would love to work on. It's also a dream. Do another movie, do a show. Uh, what else? I do love drama too. It's and comedy. So I like Liz Feldman stuff. There's so many things I like. I just finished watching Kate Hudson's show, The Running Point. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Netflix. It's kind of like Ted Lasso.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but it's very like it's in the basketball world in LA.
Oh,
It's
nice.
really fun. It's just so it's again brilliant writing for its genre. Like it's a comedy, but it's just very well acted. Everything on that show is great. So I love doing comedy. I love doing drama too. Like I feel like I'm actually hoping for myself to work on more dramatic stuff this year. Dramatic stories.
That's cool. Um,
Yeah.
what so being a comedian myself, and I like to think of myself as a not only a practitioner but a student of comedy. The folks that continuously wow me are the musical comedians. Going back to the Smothers Brothers, even, and going, Stephen Lynch, Garfunkel and Oates. Of course, Bo
Oh.
Burnham is kind of,
Oh, I love Will Burnham. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, do you
Didn't
have
he do
much?
eighth grade? I think he did that
He
movie.
did.
Yeah,
Yes, he
that
did.
was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you look at structuring music for a comedy, because again, looking at genre stuff, and it's like the most fun sets to be on. The train of thought is the most fun sets to be on are like the horror sci-fi sets, and the comedy sets are so stressful because everybody's trying to nail that moment. What is it about comedy, structuring music for comedy that you find appealing? And is there a different train of thought in structuring music for comedy as opposed to sci-fi or drama?
Yes. The short answer. There is. Why I
Okay,
love
good.
doing
Moving
it.
on then.
No. I mean, yeah, we could. Why I love it is because I mean, honestly, I feel like comedy is probably my favorite thing to watch. Because you need a smart clear out from your day. Like
Yes,
and that's why I'm like, it's not a reality for me because that would be a total clear out from your day. But I just that's what I said about like Running Point. You just dive into it. It's just so brilliantly written and performed and everything about like and Ted Lasso, same stuff. It's just very, it takes you out of your zone for a minute and you don't have to think about your own troubles.
that's
Um
important.
but yeah, but it's also, I will say, the most challenging genre to write for as a composer.
Yeah.
because yeah, it does require a different muscle, I feel. You have to recognize the beats. You have to do, not oversell it, not underdo it. You have to provide a certain rhythm for a scene. You have to find out like the right tone and the right like texture, let's say. And it's a very bit driven thing. So like, and what I mean by bit is not like, okay, it's like a beat,
Right.
but like, where are the beats in the scene that we want to catch, or where should be the quiet moment? Like, are we doing a build up and then there's quiet? Like, where is it? How will the music accompany the jokes best? Or like, maybe it's a contrast thing, actually.
Right.
Like, maybe it's a dark comedy. Like, there's so many ways to go about it, and like there's a lot of thought that needs to come into that. And then a lot of times you'll actually have to do it in a very limited in a very limited way.
Mm,
So, it's one thing to do comedy with a full orchestra, say episode 18 of Star Trek Prodigy, like
yeah,
Janeway and Dal switch bodies. Like, so it's a body switch episode.
of course.
And then it's a very different thing to do like Spock loses his ears and becomes human, like,
Hmm.
and so these are the more orchestral stuff. But like when you go into Pixar land, say, and you have to do dream productions, and it's like, it's not an orchestral comedy, then you're, and there's so much dialogue too. So you have to it's a very very delicate space to like play around with. Like, you have a few tools that you play with.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like a full palette. It's interesting. I feel like those limits are actually helpful in creating something more creative. But it's yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm explaining this
No,
very
no,
well. I'm
no. This
very
is
good at writing it. I'm not good at explaining comedy very well.
that's okay. Hey, you know what? Me neither.
Okay.
It's I just work here.
Oh, come on. It's magic. We just, it's magic.
You
We'll
just
just
go.
say it that.
Don't you just go on stage and be funny? Well, I mean,
Yeah. Do you
yeah,
prep it? Do you write, do you practice your jokes?
I do. I have my own mic stand, mic and cord, and I run stuff right here in my office, and
Wow.
I usually end up talking to a photo or something on the wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then you don't have reaction. It's hard. Do you test your jokes like on audience?
Yeah, I mean, the open mics tend to be the editing process for a lot of jokes. It's kind
Hmm.
of, you can bounce to open mic, and then when you get hired is when you take the refined material,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
when you put on the show, because
Interesting.
more often than not, that's what you're getting paid for.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I try to, there's different rooms to learn different things. Here locally, we have a coffee house that actually has a theater in it. So I always tell the younger comedians, hey, go to the theater and refine your material, because all the chairs are facing in one direction. It's soundproof. Everybody's looking at you. You're going to get some honest reactions.
Yeah.
Then there's a club, a rock club that actually has a stage and did some stand-up shows. I was like, that's where you go to learn crowd control, because
Uh,
you can't just talk at them. You have to talk with them. You have to engage them and get them on your side so that you can then deliver your material. And then there's the actual comedy club. Those are people paying to see comedy. They're not paying to see you work out material. They're not paying to see you wing it. They're paying for you to make them laugh. So that's what you have to do.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of intricate things about writing the joke, crafting the joke, and it looks great on paper. You can have it look great on paper, but until you say it in front of people, you don't know how that's going to work with them, because then you kind of have to take it, okay, they liked this part but not this part, so do I need to change this part? Do I need to rearrange it, or do I need to eliminate it altogether?
Mm.
I actually spoke with a musician here in town at their concert. They had a particular song talking about their father, and I've, talked about my father a little bit here. So I went and, after the show and said, hey, heard that part about your father. And, I actually mentioned my dad in my act. And he goes, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a stand-up comedian. This musician like grabbed two chairs and pulled them over and was like, sit down. We need to talk.
Nice.
And in fact, that's kind of something that I've seen between, because not all groups of comedians like intermingle and have that mutual respect. There can be a butting of heads sometimes between different types of comedy,
Mhm.
but consistently musicians and comedians get along really, really well.
Yeah.
There's that mutual respect of like, I can't do what you do. And then they're like, well, I can't do what you do because you're up there by yourself talking about your childhood. I'm up here with my buddies and I'm hiding behind a guitar. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
It's much easier to be like a musician or a composer. You know, the best part is that to be a composer, you don't even have to be on the stage.
Hey, there you go.
But yeah, I think behind the guitar is great. Maybe you
Yeah,
should
yeah.
take a guitar with you next time.
Maybe. And I'll take the microphone and just hold the guitar up in front of my face. That way, if
Yeah.
the joke bombs, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, or you just play something and they'll
Yeah,
forget.
exactly. Oh gosh. Well, so let's get back into Star Trek a little bit here. We talked a little bit before we started to roll about your who your captain is. So let's hit that again. Who do you consider to be your captain? And in fact, I'll take this a little bit deeper. Who is your captain and who do you think is the best captain? Because it's not always the same person.
That's very interesting. I never thought of that because to me the best captain is Janeway. Captain
Fair.
Janeway, Admiral Janeway. Um, I would want to be under I would want to be under Captain Janeway though, so that makes me I think this is the same answer for me, I guess. No? I mean
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there isn't a wrong answer here. So yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I would want to be under her. I feel like I mean that one episode that we mentioned I again I wish I remembered episode names, but from Voyager where she says like if we don't like preserve our morals, if we don't stand for our values, then we're completely we've completely lost our home. We are just because we're in that galaxy where we're no or that part of the galaxy where
Yeah.
nobody is acting in our way, like we should not become them, and we should not become who we're not supposed to be, and so this is what we're fighting for, and I feel like that was something that really kind of went with me along the
Yeah.
ever since I heard her say that, but also just her finding the way for her crew in such a foreign land, and like such, having to unify her crew and having, as you said, integrate, her integrating a Borg into Starfleet.
Yeah. Kind of a big
And all
deal.
of, yeah, and even working with I mean, it's really, I mean, and then all her adventures, obviously, with the Prodigy crew. Um, it's just, yeah, to me, she's just my captain, I guess.
Yeah, I've said it here before, and I'll just briefly recap. I'm, born in '83, so I was raised on TNG. Picard's my guy, and in fact, Picard actually looks like a skinny version of my dad. But as I've gone through, looking at everything that Janeway accomplished, Picard's my favorite, but Janeway's really the best, and I've mentioned before, and again before we started to roll, that Pike's probably a close second, like in
Yeah.
terms of just straight up bravery of the grabbing of the time crystal, and then in he gets all the Captain America speeches, like
Yeah, he does.
yeah, he does. But him being a builder of his crew, not only as a whole, but as the individuals, and
Yeah.
he's also gleaning from them as well. So yeah,
Yeah. And the
that's
way
great.
he goes out for his crew too, like he protects
Yes.
them and he backs them. And I feel like not every like it's a very, very prominent thing with Pike. Like you don't see that a lot with other captains, like the way
Yeah.
that they're um just like they give the security to the person to be themselves.
Yes.
Specifically with Una, but with everyone really. And it's just like as you say, he's building his team. He's building the people, not just as a team, but also as individuals. And I
Yeah,
think that's a that's a great quality in a leader. Because
absolutely.
the leader brings the best out of you. Well, in a way, Janeway did do that with her crew. Like she made them better.
You're absolutely
So
right.
she took the sum of, she made them whole. Um,
Yeah.
and especially in Prodigy, but like yeah, it takes a lot of courage, and yeah, I agree with you on that. But then every captain has their, or every episode of Trek, the very memorable stuff. Like sometimes you'll be driving your car and have a certain day, and you'll be thinking like, okay, sometimes you can do everything right and still lose. And this would be from Picard, you know? There's all these like little moments that come to you. It's like, oh yeah, this is, the lessons you learn from Trek, and then they come with you, and sometimes um they comfort you in ways you didn't imagine. So
Yeah, we've talked a great deal even here today. It's yeah, I've got these four shelves are all Star Trek stuff,
yeah, I can see.
but I've got this is right here. This is my Star Wars section. I've got a Star Wars section too. Like
Yeah, me
I've also
too.
got a Doctor Who section.
Got the Enterprise here and the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
They're both on my desk.
And some time ago someone brought up the notion of the Star Wars versus Star Trek debate, and I've always been of the mind, first of all, I don't see why we can't have both. But also, I came up with this sort of theory or thesis about what these two things truly mean, and I think I'd love to get your opinion. I've always said that Star Wars, very coming of age, learning who you are, breaking away from your parents, setting your eyes on destiny and going for it. Um, Star Trek assumes you've done that already. And Star Trek is very like, this is how you interact with other people. This is how we learn. This is how we grow. So they go hand in hand.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
I kind of agree. Sorry, you were saying.
no, 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 no. I was just gonna say, any thoughts to that?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think what you're saying is very true to the bigger timeline of Star Wars, let's say. I guess it's true for Andor too. It's interesting to me. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I for a long time I was saying that Star Trek is superior to Star Wars. And I'm saying that as a fan of both. Like I have this t-shirt of like the Millennium Falcon and the
Oh yeah,
Enterprise together. Like I'm a huge fan. Like half of my closet is Star Wars stuff.
yeah.
And a huge I mean, yes. I would, if there was a word for Trekkie in Star Wars land, I would be that too. But I think in several ways, Star Trek, and I kind of still have that thought because I feel like Star Trek, first of all, like the values that like, okay, the future that it shows, let's say if both how do you say that, if both scenarios were true to in real, this is where our galaxy is going,
Yeah.
I would much rather see the future of Star Trek
Oh,
rather than the future of Star Wars.
oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
would really much rather believe that Star Trek, the Starfleet would exist, that like a United Federation of Planet would exist, that the Prime Directive would exist, and I would not be super surprised if it does, that we don't know about. Like maybe there is some kind of Prime Directive out there, and that's why we don't see the aliens that all constantly hang out here. I don't
Maybe.
know. Maybe. But I'm just saying, like in my hopes, I wish that it would be that. So this is from a future perspective, but from a past perspective, I feel like Star Trek as a sci-fi show predicted a lot of the stuff that we're seeing today.
Oh, totally.
So, there we have even video conversations like this was in the 60s, in the 70s and in the original series.
Oh yeah.
Um, even the tricorders that show like, someone's temperature, like all of these stuff, and even now 3D printers are kind of like
A replicator. It's a
it's a
replicator.
replicator. It's a very early version of that. And like I know that people are trying to create a warp engine. Like, so I'm just saying Star Trek inspired a young generation of scientists who actually went with it and created new technologies that are now improving humanity and
Yeah.
improving our lives. And so in that way, Star Trek is superior to Star Wars because we don't see that stuff in Star Wars. Nobody, there's no lightsabers, there's no, I mean, again, I feel the Force is spiritual. I love that. I actually agree with that energy stuff. It's funny because I'm like very technical, but also very spiritual on the other
Yeah, of
side.
course.
So I mean, my favorite part of Star Wars is the Force.
Mm,
That unites all things, that nature, it's just very, very, like that message is, is
yes.
very, and then, all the stuff about hope, like how hope is a thing that is, will remain and will consist, and there's so many lessons you can learn from Star Wars in that regard. But then lastly, the third reason that to me Star Trek is superior to Star. It's so funny to say that. I'm sorry. I know this is gonna tease a lot of people, but it's
This
fun. Uh
this is a safe place. Go ahead, pour out your fandom.
but yeah, the other thing is like that quote, yeah, infinite diversity, infinite combinations. I feel like Star Trek has been doing that off screen and on screen a long time before Star Wars did.
Yeah.
We had Uhura, we had Mbenga, we had like a female captain, Janeway, a long time before we ever saw Ashoka or like any of the other, and that off screen as well. Like I do feel like the Star Trek inclusiveness was there much earlier and sort of dictated the way to a lot of other shows. Even the first the same-sex kiss of Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah.
I know, yes, it's like I mean, it's again, it's not exactly that because, well, she was a Trill, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
she's Trill. Yeah,
so it's she's her husband basically, the story.
of
But
course.
like just even having the courage to show that stuff on screen, like that is admirable. I
Yeah.
don't know that like Star Wars have gone in these like very courageous directions boldly as Trek. So just from these perspectives, again, I do love both shows. I enjoy both franchises. Um, I love the music of Star Wars. Like there's absolutely zero like complaints about the music in both franchises. It's
Right, right.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to say like which future I wish for myself and for humanity and which shows I'm thinking about more after and which quotes I'm thinking about, in traffic or in on the shower or when I get up in the morning, it's way more I think Trek stays with you for a longer time, at least for me.
That's
It
fair.
makes you think and like presents all these ethical dilemmas that humanity has encountered and will encounter. And yeah, but again, as fans, I think we should encourage both and
Of
have,
course.
watch both and enjoy both.
Oh
And
yeah.
as a composer, I want to work on everything, both Star Trek and Star Wars.
Well, even looking at going through some of my fandoms that I've got on my shelf over here, looking at and I've got this row of books right here. That's all Walking Dead.
Nice.
And hearing Bear McCreary's music at the beginning of that show and how it's such a
Hmm.
fast paced like you are in it immediately as soon as you hear those first few notes.
Yeah.
Um,
Bear stuff is so good. Like there's also Battlestar Galactica, which is
I was
like
just about to
absolute.
say
Oh, no, okay.
I got the box set for BSG over here
Oh,
too.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Doctor Who. I was thinking the other day about Doctor Who and specifically that theme. When David, are you familiar with Doctor Who?
I'm familiar. I haven't seen the latest one actually, so
I
no spoilers.
I haven't finished Jodie Whittaker's season yet, but anyway,
Okay.
um, but like hearing David Tennant's theme with the strings
Mhm.
that da 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 da, and then how they translated that into drums and how narratively they explained that that's the heartbeat of a Time Lord. It's like,
Oh my God. That's
Okay.
so brilliant. I love when those things happen.
Yeah, and then like when it gets to Peter Capaldi and it's not heavy on the strings, but it's heavy on it's what's really noticeable to me is the bell, is them hitting that
Mhm.
bell. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, it creates a different vibe. It's the same music from 63, but like
Yeah.
throughout time they've focused on different aspects. And in Jodie Whittaker's season, like they start it almost feels like like a tangible organic
Yeah.
thing, the music. And
So
wow, yeah.
cool. So
It
cool. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
I just got reminded that like without Star Wars and Star Trek, we wouldn't have Spaceballs. So, we have to acknowledge that. I mean, that is the ultimate franchise, really.
it's true.
It's
Hey,
Spaceballs.
Tuvok was in it. Oh my God. Well, so we're drawing close to the end of our time here. You've been incredibly generous with your time. Thank you
No,
so
this is
much.
really fun. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, this has been great.
Yeah. And you
We will
have
have
such
you.
great ideas. And I have to watch to read the book that you mentioned, the All American book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'll shoot you whatever links you'd like. But one last thing I want to ask you. I saw in one of the articles that you've never been to the set of Star Trek.
I
Have
know
you have
it's
you be- have you been to the set
no.
yet?
I hope to go at some point. Like it's probably not gonna happen anytime soon. Maybe next season. I don't know if there is a next season. Maybe.
So, when you get to the set, what do you intend to steal?
Uh, it's a good question. Oh my God. I don't think anything is very stealable, is it? I would love the captain's chair here.
Oh, since chair.
But it's kind of hard to schlep that from
Yeah, it's not like you
Canada.
can fit it in your pocket.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I'd take a set of uniform, but like, or I don't know, some kind of like a cool outfit. Like, the costume designer is doing such amazing stuff.
They
So
got
I
some
I
dope
would
costumes.
maybe something of that, or I don't know, phone numbers, I guess.
Phone numbers and memories.
Phone numbers yeah, of Ethan Peck. Sure.
Awesome. He's he seems like he's a fun guy to hang out with. He seems like he's
Yeah.
kind of a goofball, but like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Melissa has been to one of our sessions. Melissa Navia or Ortegas.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
fantastic. So I have her number.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I met her at Trek Long Island last year. She was absolute sweetheart. We talked
Yeah.
D&D for a moment, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's um fixing to meet Celia.
Oh, Celia Rose Gooding. Yeah.
Yeah, she's going this year.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Really get to
yeah.
meet them.
I'm doing a panel with them. I'm doing a trivia game, and I'm doing a D&D thing. I'm doing
Wait, is that
stand up.
when is that? In Long
It's
Island?
like 2 weeks. It's
Oh, wow.
end of May.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's like
The
next
30th,
week.
the 30th, 31st, and 1st.
Yeah, that's real soon. Okay.
Yeah, right around the corner. I'm
Wow.
getting
Exciting.
nervous.
Oh, you're gonna have such a good time.
It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna have an absolute.
It's kind of like a family reunion, really, all those Trek events.
Have you done a lot of the pop
I've done a
culture
lot
cons?
of I mean Comic Con and the San Diego one, LA, Anaheim, well I mean WonderCon and yeah, a couple times Trek Las Vegas.
I've yet to go to Las Vegas. I've heard nothing
Yeah.
but good things about Vegas, but I can definitely say, like, having been to a bunch of pop culture cons and comic book conventions, at least here on the East Coast, a specific Trek convention is different. It's a
Yeah.
completely different vibe. Everybody is everybody else's long lost friend. It's such
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful atmosphere. It's really, really great.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we're almost out of time. Would you like to do a lightning round?
Sure. Let's do it.
I am so good at lightning rounds!
Do you snore?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite movie soundtrack?
E.T.
Who's the funniest person you know?
My brother-in-law.
We would have also accepted the host of the Computer Resume podcast,
Oh
Mr.
yes, I'm
Rodriguez.
sorry, Todd.
That's okay. No, nobody seems to get that right, and that's fine.
Sorry.
Favorite song from your childhood?
As Long as You Love Me, Backstreet Boys. I know.
I do a bit in my act about that song.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, not kidding. Not even kidding.
See, you are the funniest person on this podcast for sure.
You're making a peanut butter sandwich. Crunchy or smooth?
Crunchy.
That is correct. Favorite Broadway musical?
This one is hard. Probably Book of Mormon. Followed very closely by Wicked. Before it was a famous thing.
I haven't seen Wicked yet.
Oh, please watch it in Broadway before you see the film. The film is good, but the Broadway is
good to know. Because I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan, but just for whatever reason, just haven't gotten around to seeing the stage show. What's the last book you read?
Oh, this is a hard one. I'm reading right now. It's called I forgot what it's called, but it's a Dutch book. I have to go check. I think it's called The Watchmen. It's about like this family. It's told from his perspective of a young kid in World War II. And they're like he's finding he basically saves a British pilot, and how slowly his family finds out. And they're kind of helping this pilot escape. So it's they're basically the Watchmen is the windmill where they live.
Last question.
Oh, okay. That was
It's a lightning round. It goes by quick. It goes by real quick.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, here we go.
Your IMDb page lists you as 5'3". Are you?
I have no idea who put that in. Oh, that's not me. I will deny that. I am not 5.3. I am barely 5.
That is correct. Congratulations. All right.
Oh my God. That's
Listen,
so
kids,
funny.
the internet is full of liars. They have no idea how tall your favorite composer is. Just know that.
Wow.
Well, Nami, thank you so much again for carving out the time to chat with me today. Do you have any parting thoughts before we begin to wrap things up about your fandoms, making and conducting music, your Trek experience, your experience on the Computer Resume podcast? Any parting thoughts before we go?
Yeah, it was really fantastic. And I know you said that, there's no, I think you did ask a lot of questions that I was never asked before.
Oh, good.
Especially on my service experience, but like a lot of stuff that people did not discuss. And I think that's really, it's really great. So thank you for that. And thank you for a great conversation and making me want to go to Long Island. Probably not this year, but maybe next one. Yeah, it was really thoughtful and really, I'm very honored to have spent this time with you.
Thank you. Well, tell folks what you got in the works. Where can they hear your music next? What the film that's in Tribeca, you said?
Yeah.
Let's plug that. Let's any plugs that you've got. Let's go ahead and do them right now.
Okay, so the first plug is super obvious. July July is when season 3 of Strange New Worlds comes out. And I am very, very excited for people to check out a very certain episode, all of the episodes, but a certain one for sure. So I am looking forward to hearing what is your favorite. I am working on an album for that one for season 3. I know that we have kind of missed the deadline on season 2, but it will come eventually. For now, it will be the album for season 3, so hopefully it will be released around that time. No promises just yet, but it's in the works. I am also still working on an album for Prodigy, which will happen, yes. The film at Tribeca is called Wannabe. It's directed by a good friend of mine, Kat Katani. It's actually the first film to have been produced and shot in Ecuador that gets into Tribeca. So
Oh, wow.
the film is in Spanish.
Cool.
And so I didn't understand any word of it, and I just like pressed some buttons and it worked out. No, but like they had translations with like subtitles, but also we got to record an Ecuadorian band, an Equena flute, and like all these like very, very cool instruments. So I'm very excited for this score and also for the story in particular. So if you have the time, we're premiering on June 4th. So this will be in Tribeca in New York. And there's a few more screenings after that. I don't remember the dates, but like that is the official premiere. Yeah, and then the last thing I did is airing right now on Disney Plus. It's Dream Productions. It's a really fun show. It's a mini series, really. It's based on the studio that makes the dreams for Riley in Inside Out 1. So it's kind of an inside Hollywood story. You have directors and the head of the studio and writers, and it's very, very exciting to see the inside of the studio and how it works out and how they create dreams for Riley on a very particular budget and in very different time constraints. So it's really fun to do. It's a very 70s score, so not exactly Star Trek, but really fun. Yeah, I think that's my shameless plug for today.
Well, again, thank you so much. Where can people follow you on the socials or wherever?
Yeah, so I'm at Nami Composer on Instagram, Twitter, or X, Facebook, I think. Yeah, I also have this like what is it called?
Blue Sky?
Something. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it's very people don't
I
use
haven't
it
set
enough,
mine up
so
either.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm shamelessly still using X. I know it's
Yeah,
yeah,
me too.
it is what it is.
Right.
But I think my main platform is Instagram. And then there's my website. There is Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all the streaming platforms where you can hear music or watch Paramount Plus or Netflix or Disney Plus or HBO. And yeah, I can go on.
And I am at Mr. Todd A. Davis on all of the socials. From all of us at the Computer Resume podcast, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in 10 Forward.
Support us on Patreon and like, rate, review, and share on all your favorite platforms. Feel free to send us your subspace transmissions to computerresumepodcast@gmail.com or at Computer Resume on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Computer Resume podcast was created and produced by Mr. Todd A. Davis. Our logo was designed by Will Martin and Justin Bishop. The opening theme was produced by Justin Bishop, and our outro music was provided with permission by Dronode. Additional music was provided by Mr. Todd A. Davis and Gary Horn, and the voice of Computer Resume podcast and executive producer, me, Kat Davis. Hashtag LLAP. We'll see you next time.
Going through a Star Trek. We're doing Star Trek stuff in space. We probably got some phasers and shuttle pods, and we're gonna find a brand new race.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?